Hello, welcome to another Random Code stream. This is part, what? 5. 5, getting this feature done, and I hope in this stream that I can get it done at least to the point where it's fixing what I thought it needed to fix. So, replacements are in, and that's what this feature is all about, is a way for you to say, hey, I've got expectations set up, but in one test I want to change it and make it a little different. So that's what we're adding in. And as I found out in the last stream, actually let me get the music going as per usual. As I found out in the last stream, I think it's in the removal test. Yeah. So because we have the name here, let me zoom in on the text a little bit. Make it a little bit easier to see too as well. Okay. Actually, let's just adjust this too. Let's turn this a little bit. Come on. There you go. There you go. All right. Ah! Okay, that didn't work. What's actually... That should be tight there. Okay, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? I was trying to change my mic and hopefully it doesn't, don't touch it. Okay, anyway, as I found in the last stream, these names really are just names of stuff that they need to have a name, but they're not really intended up until this point to actually be something that you would use in mocking. But now we need to have something that's set up so that you can have it be consistent with the name. And the reason why is because this is just an incrementer. That's all it is. But if you're taking a reference to it and somebody comes in and says void foo, give it a second. Oh yeah, save it actually, I think. And then give it a second. We should see, yep, now you start seeing things kicking in because 0 is now 1, and that's not what you're intending. So that's even different. If you wanted to capture that, if you really wanted to, for whatever reason, maybe you capture it and then say, if this condition holds in my setup, then I'll do this return value, otherwise I'll do this return value or whatever, I don't know. Maybe you wanted to keep that around. So what we needed to do is change this so that it has a consistent name based on the signature of the method, or the member really. Well, this becomes a little problematic because we, how do I want to say this? How do you come up with a signature for the name here based on the method retrieve? Like you could say retrieve adornment, but then what happens if it's overloaded? How do you come up with the name then? Could you put in, like, I was thinking maybe you start putting in, you know, the ref GUID, if it's a ref out or something like that. You start doing something like that as the name that would be here. But that could start becoming this really long string and of a name, and that's kind of ugly too. So, and yes, you need to have the ref there because you could have GUID and you could also have a ref GUID with the other two parameters, and those would actually overload. Those are different. So those signatures are different. So that's the fun thing we got to have here, which is how do we name something so that it's going to be consistently the same every single time, and also be differentiated from other things. So what I came up with, and this was actually after conversations with a friend at work, is to do something like this. So we'll put some little, call it a fingerprint, call it a hash, call it whatever you want, that will stick on the end. That's basically going to be a 256 hash of the parameters, and then we'll chop off the first 8 or 12 or whatever characters and put it at the end. It's not pretty, but it's no better or worse than what we currently have here. So, and we'll put the member name in front. We'll say retrieve adornments. We'll actually say adornments, and then that little thing for properties. I think I have my notes here. I wrote down what we're going to do for each one of these. I think. Well, actually, I took that off, and now I realize that's wrong. We have to say for methods, properties would need get, set, init in the name. You don't have to, but I think it'd read better. Indexers need to start with this. Again, not pretty, but you can't name anything this in your type. So that way we won't run into collisions with what we're doing. Now, there's another feature I have coming up in Rocks, which is to put XML comments on every member. So when you hover over it, it'll tell you like the adornments for the retrieve uint method. You know, so at least that's another way that can give you a little bit of a description as to what this is. So that will get us, I think, what we need. Okay. So we're going to close everything. And we're going to start with method model. We need on method model, we need a, what did I call it? A fingerprint hash. Or just, you know, I don't know. A name is as good as any other name, right? And then we need here equals, and then we want a method, and I copied it down here. We'll call it, yeah, this get. So we don't have an input, and the reason we don't have an input is now we need to actually come up with the equals this dot parameters. Well, actually, we want string join. We don't need a separator here, but what we want to do is take this parameters, select parameter. Now that's not right. Its name is not good enough. Okay. We want to take the type name. And again, this is potentially a tad bit risky. Maybe we should say it's fully qualified name. And the reason why I say that is because you could have two GUID types by name, but one is system and one is your own custom GUID, or like you have those things. So you want to have something that's named a little differently. Actually, should we just say concat? Maybe that's what yeah. Okay, so we're going to say string concat these together. What we also want to do is say, for the parameter here, we really want it to be this. But then what we also want is, this could get kind of ugly. let's actually make this a... So what we want is var name is equal to parameter dot fully... Oh, type fully qualified name. Okay, and then we also want var direction, which is if parameter is by... Oh, crud. Do I not capture that? Okay, it is ref out. Okay, good. If it's by ref, then what we want to say is ref. Otherwise, if the parameter is out, we want to say... Actually, let's... Yeah. We want to say out. Otherwise, we say string.empty. Okay. So that gives us a direction, that gives us a name, and what we want to return is that. Except we don't even need the dot there. We can just do that. All right. So that gets us the fingerprint. We're going to then put that as our input here. Oh, crud. Yeah, just to hex string is not in .NET Standard 2.0. There's a way around this already, but I want to just confirm this. Blinding. Yeah, it's only in .NET. This is like one of the times where unfortunately you get bit because it's not there. So what we need to do is actually a byte. The biggest representation of, and let me just check this real quick, of a byte is, let's do .NET Lab again. I need to learn not to put that big string in the end. So let's just say var value is equal to 202b. Is that going to say it's a byte? We can just say byte here. Just, I don't want to remember what the value is. And then let's say console write value to string. And I believe it's x2. I believe. I could be wrong. Yeah, CA. Okay. So we could say here byte max value, run it. And so you have FF. So you have two characters. And I said here I want 12. It could be 8. I mean, you know, it's just we're balancing making something too long with being not unique enough. But hopefully with doing this, we're not going to, because the only way you run into a collision is if you have something that's overloaded, that in such a way the first 4 bytes would not be specific enough. And you'd run into a collision that way, which is possible. But I don't want to have something that's like overbearingly long either, because that starts looking, it looks bad. But we have to have something that's uniquely named, or at least is probably unique enough to resist collisions. So, yeah. I mean, we could start doing things like, the thing is, I was going to say we could start doing things like grabbing characters within, bytes within the stream, because you're going to have a set output when you do SHA-512, it's going to be, I think, 512 bits, which whatever 512 divided by 8 is. And then you could just pick out, like, skip along and pick out the things you want. I don't think, though, that it really matters either way. We could say here, like, we compute the hash, and then what we could say is return hash bytes, or we could say string concat again, hash bytes, take 4, select, so we take the first 4, value equals value to string x2. And so we would take the first 4 bytes. So in our original code example here that I was actually using in this, if we change that to what I just did here, what does that look like? No, not there. In the oh, we need a link. Okay. So now let's make it a uint. And we get a totally different value, which is what we would want, right? But every time we run this, it's different. And if we suddenly made this a ref string, now it's totally different. So I think that's good enough. That gets us hopefully a unique enough value. And if we ever run into a collision. So I guess here's the thing. What would happen if we ran into a collision? You'd probably have to do something as a workaround to derive from it, make one of those things not. But again, you have to have a type that has overloads that in some way create the first 4 bytes that are exactly the same. And I'm not saying that isn't possible. That's totally possible. But what are the odds of that happening? And of course, I say that, and I've said many times, as soon as you say, what are the odds are somebody's going to run into it. But it's either that or we do something where we don't pick those values off. And we just say this, and now we would put the whole hash there, which, dear Lord, that will look awful, you know, and we're trying to avoid that. We're trying to do something that's just that material. And hopefully that's good enough. You could say, but Jason, why don't you use the strings hash codes? Because it's not consistent with every run. Like if I took this, okay, and I said here, let's comment that out. Let's put a return here. And I just said return actually, we would just say here, if I'd said input get hash code, okay, and oh, we want, fine, to string. Okay, we ran this. You see here, it's coming up with the same one, which is fine. If I did this, then it's going to be that if I took it back. But I'm guessing what .NET Lab is doing behind the scenes is that it's I don't want to say it's keeping the same compilation, but maybe it's keeping the same app domain to keep the compilation around. But it is documented. If I look this up, if I say C# string get hash code uniqueness, there should be why is string get hash code? Thank you, Andrew Locke. Each time I run my program in .NET Core. And yeah, like they say, if you do it in Framework, it does, but in .NET Core, it changes every time. Within the program execution, it's the same. And you can randomize it in framework. It starts talking about, okay, that this is used in some security reasons, which makes sense. So you can get a deterministic hash code. And then this will get you the same 1, 2, 3. Oh, that's just because of that. So yeah, basically the reason is all described here. I'll actually drop this link in the chat just in case anybody wants to see it. But that's essentially why. Good description. So the thing is, though, that I'm going to be sitting here thinking about a little bit is once I publish this, there's no way around this. We can't change this because if we do, we're back to the same boat of what we're in right now, which is that potentially would change people's things that they're referencing. Now, to be fair, I'm thinking of, well, people. There's not a lot of people using this framework. So, and even if they are they doing what I'm suggesting here, which is to capture? Very, very few would. That doesn't excuse it, though, for breaking people. If we did change this, that would be a breaking change. It would have to be semvered to be a breaking change, and then documented that, yes, you could. The adornment names could be different, and probably would be. So you'd have to, if you're referencing them, you're going to have to fix your code because your code's going to break. And that would suck. I'm not denying it. That would. So, that's why these implementations are interesting. I'm actually going to grab this and put this in my notes. May want to consider that. A simplified non-random version of string get hash code. I think that's the one that he landed on, right? Yeah, so he created a manager. So he settled on that, but he took out the unsafe part of it. So that makes sense. Except the thing we would want, though, is if we get a hash code, we want to get the hex value of it. Which I think you can... Here we go, .NET Lab again. Didn't I say I wanted to finish this today? But it's... Damn. I screwed up. Okay. Fine. We'll grab all this again. Actually, no, I don't. I just wanted to say what happens if you have A is equal to... We'll just put in a number here. Okay. And I say console write line A to string X2. Hey, guy. So we would need the... Yeah, I saw that you said Project Hail Mary in the end of the stream, but I had already stopped. So what'd you think of it? So by the way, this isn't good enough because we would want the sizing to be the same. We would want to have padding at the beginning, which we could do. That would be fine. But you know, do I use this? But I need if I come back here and I say int max value. What was if I say 2? See, then it's just 0, 2. C string to string hex output padding. How to pad a number with leading zeros. Display the same integer value. By using composite formatting. Okay, so this is showing the decimal and the... I'll get back to you guys in just a second. I'm just reading this real quick. Oh, I am being stupid. It's not... Okay. It's the 2 here is... That's just saying how many digits you want. Already was there. I could put 16 here. Yeah, but that would be... if I want int max value, then saying this would give you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so it's always going to be 8, which might be fine. And then that would, so it's always going to be a positive number. Okay, so I might actually go with Andrew's implementation because it might be quicker. It will be consistent across all every run. It won't change. And, we might go that route. We just need something that will give us a hash code value that is the same every time. All right, so let me read a little bit about, we'll do a side quest here, what guy's saying, and then I'll get back to writing this code. I liked it. It was cute. It seemed more of a kid's movie than a hardcore sci-fi movie, but I enjoyed it. I do get that a little bit. It was fun to watch it the first time. I think, if I've watched clips of it that you see on YouTube and stuff later, it is a little bit like that. I could see that. It doesn't bug me, but I can see that. When Grace asks mission leader Eva, or Ava, however you say her name, if she believes in God, she replies that it beats the alternative. Yeah, there's a little bit of that. But that is how some people view it. I don't know. I don't know if that line is in the book either or not. I don't remember. I read the book, really liked it, but it was a while ago before I... Did you read the book, by the way, Guy, before you saw the movie? And the idea of self-confidence, and you never know what you can achieve. Not sure what you mean by that. Like, are you criticizing it, or are you saying that was good, or what? So I might actually take... I've not read the book. Okay. And that's fair. Hey, Electron. So I think I'm going to steal this. As you do. Right? So we want to get the fingerprint hash here. But what we're going to do is basically nuke all this. And... we're going to give credit where credit is due. Lifted from... yeah, it's... and then we want our fingerprint here to be length. And of course, we can't have that. My goodness, that's awful. And now we don't return this. What we want is this two-string x8. There we go. So now we'll have that 8... like we see here. But oh, we need to have the 8 there. So if you get a small value, you're going to have a bunch of zeros in front, but that's okay. Who cares? Who cares? Again, it's not about what it looks like. It just needs to be something that is the same every time. So thank you, Andrew. Although, you do have an error occurred fetch failed down here, so you got to fix that. So, and again, this isn't a security concern. There's nothing security related with this. This is just, we need something to give a name. All right, enough theory. Let's actually make this work. So we'll have the fingerprint hash here now. And actually, that sounds ridiculous. Let's call it a parameter hash. Because that's really what matters. That's what we're getting. Okay, so now let's go back to my notes. I like the idea of grace coming from a place of self-doubt to being the eventual savior of the universe. A lot of people struggle with it. Yeah, okay, yeah, that I will agree with. I did like that. This guy is actually very, very super smart. You can tell. But he put out a theory that, basically put him in the negative with the scientific community. And he didn't either have the confidence and or he just, because of it, just kind of sheltered, and he ended up, nothing against being a school teacher, but the guy had the brains, and he didn't want to, even, that's a funny thing too, even though he knew that humanity didn't have a choice. This is literally this was our Hail Mary. This is our only way of trying to fix this. And that's something that in the book they talk about, that they have to do some things like nuking Antarctica or whatever. I think that's what they do, to melt the ice or something like that. Or they do something in the Sahara Desert to make it so that they can keep the planet somewhat warm. But these are just stopgaps. To the eventual destruction if they don't fix this. So this is a literal Hail Mary, and he still won't do it. And yeah, I get why. To a certain degree, if you were put in that situation, people would be like, oh, sure, I'll do that. And it's like, really? you know, you may save humanity, but you have no way of getting home. You know, that's it. So yeah, I get it. Yeah, he was Ken. Yeah, I mean, Ryan Gosling has been in a lot. One of the first movies he was in, I think it was called The Believer. He plays somebody who's a Nazi, but is also Jewish, which is just like how, like, holy crap. How do you reconcile those two? I think that was a movie that got him a lot of acclaim at first because, you know, it's such a dichotomy. It's such a extreme two sides of this. And how does this character, you know, handle it? You know, I remember it was when it first came out, I watched it and I was like, you know, yeah, this guy's good. He's he's got a name for himself. Yeah, and he did Ken and so yeah, but he's done a lot of stuff. And like he was in Blade Runner 24/7. He was in a whole bunch of other things. So he's a really good actor, and I think he did, you know, a really good job on this one. It's a lot of eye candy. You know, I'm not just saying because Ryan, oh my goodness, but you know, just visually stunning. Yeah, I didn't see it in IMAX, but I'm sure if you saw it in IMAX, I mean, just like the scene where they're trying to get when they're going to Adrian and they're trying to basically fish the planets for that microbes or whatever. That was just stunning enough to see it in a theater, to see it in IMAX, I think would just be unbelievably cool. Or in the Sphere, if you were watching it in the Sphere in Vegas, that would be like, wow, you know. I like the idea of sacrificing yourself for the greater good. For example, in Prometheus at the end when the pilot tries to crash. No, he doesn't try. He does into the engineer in order to prevent him from escaping. Yeah, like they, I forget her name. Elizabeth, was that her name? That basically tells him, Idris is the actor's name, that, you know, if the engineer escapes, we won't have a home to go back to. And he understood the mission and realized they have to sacrifice themselves for the good of humanity. And yeah, I like that. That's like sometimes, you know, you hope that those are minimal, but there are some times where you have to, you know, in a way it's the trolley problem. You might have to sacrifice yourself or a couple of humans to make sure 20 survive. And, you know, what are all the philosophical and ethical conundrums of that? So it just is another one of my favorite. Yeah, he's good too. I like him. The things I've seen him in, he does really good. So, or really well, or whatever English. So, all right. Anyway, sorry. Get back to this. So, we have this now. That's done. So now what we need to do is change the name of the type, and not just when we're creating it, but when we're referencing it. So that's why I have these classes written here, because we have to now go through these and change them. So, like, we can keep the handler's identifier. That's fine. We can do that. That doesn't matter. But when we're like creating, I think, adornments for handler, that's where this has to change now. When we're returning it here, also here. And then also, I think, in the handlers, did I write that down? No, I didn't. That also has to change. I think in the mock, is it the list builder? I don't remember. No, this is just building the... No, it is it is here. This is what we're doing here. Okay. But we do also have to change it. Yes, when we're creating the adornments. That's okay. Okay, got it. Did you see Begonia? Yes, I did. You should do a movie review live stream. There's already people that do that. I actually used to do some reviews. Like I would create videos and review books I've just read or movies I watched, and I don't know. It didn't pick up steam for me personally. Maybe I'll consider redoing that and talking about those things. But yeah, maybe. But I did see Begonia. That was really good. That was, and this is, I feel like I should have like a spoiler alert when I do these things, but yeah, if you haven't seen it, this is a little bit of spoilers, but well, I'll say this: the movie I think does a decent job leaving you to guess, is she an alien or not? Are these two guys basically completely conspiracy theorist nutzos and have no basis in what they're doing, and as you find out throughout the movie, you start realizing maybe it's because they have a vendetta against her is really what the problem is. Okay, you saw it. Maybe other people that are watching or see this later haven't. So I'm mincing my words a little bit. I think it does a good job in making you kind of wonder, where could this go? And is she really who they claim her to be? But I won't spoil it where it goes at the end, because, that's a fun thing about the movie, is that it could go both ways. And, it's interesting to see the choice it makes at the end of the movie. So, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really, really liked it. I thought it was done really well. And what I also like too is that I forget the main actor, Todd, from Breaking Bad. I think he's Kirsten Dunst's husband, if I remember right. But yeah, he can play creepy guys really, really well, and he's a really good actor in his own right. But his brother or nephew or cousin or something, I think that plays, is autistic. Like in real life, he's an autistic person, and I really like that they made that choice to have somebody, not just play somebody who's autistic, but somebody who is autistic to handle that role. And it's one of those things too in movies and acting. Like, speaking of Breaking Bad, the son of Walter White, I forget his name, TJ, I think is the actor's name. He has cystic fibrosis, although he has what it seems to be a fairly mild version of it. Like, he doesn't need crutches in real life. He just used them in the show, but he doesn't need them in real life. His speech is a little slurred in real life, but it's not severe. But they used somebody who did have CF in the show. Do you use somebody who, like, what happens if the role is somebody who's gay? Do you need to have somebody who in real life is gay, or could somebody, like if you think back way to Philadelphia, where Tom Hanks, who isn't gay, plays a gay character? Where's the cutoff? Arguably, people if you look at Lord of the Rings, people were kind of upset that they didn't use little people for all the hobbits. And understandably so. I kind of get that. I mean, there's just this, how far do you go with these things? And should it, I don't know. I don't have an answer for it. And I don't have, a good, well, in this case, you should do this or you shouldn't do this, there's something you should, something you obviously shouldn't, but where's the line in there? Anyway, speaking of lines, I need to write more lines of code. Not avoiding the issue. I don't mind this stuff, but this is a coding stream. I do want to be a little bit more back on this. Okay. So first one, method expectations. So we do need to change the type name here. Interesting debate. Yep. So we want to have maybe the adornments type. Yeah, we don't always need to reference it that way. We could do var adornments type name is equal to except we want this to be like that. And now what we want to have here though is the method.name adornments, and then we don't use this, we use the parameter hash. There. Okay, so now what we want to do is here we stick that there, and then the same here, and then the same there. Okay. Why do people retract their messages? Or did YouTube do that? Because I don't see it quick enough, and then it's like message retracted. I'm like, why? I want to read it. This here can also be changed to that. This can be changed to that, because we're turning that now. And then that can change. I should also put in a final check, look for the string adornments for handler for any stragglers that I missed. Okay. We'll call this, parameter hash. All right, so I think I got that done. We now want to look for this. So property has a handler. We would also want the var adornments type name. And because we're in the getter, we can get her. I don't even know her. Huh? Terrible. Terrible. Boo, -2. So we want the property name. This would be get adornments. And then we would say property get method parameter hash. Because we know it to be non-null. If you have a... Or we could actually just do this because we already pulled it out. So we can do that. Actually, why are we... No. What are you doing? Find. Yeah, why did I... What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me, code? There's a bit of delay between when I type something, you read it, and I didn't want to continue to derail you from... No, go ahead, do that. I mean, I don't mind getting derailed. If I want to ignore you, I'll ignore you. Yeah, that's the power of the streamer. So... I don't mind. I mean, I actually... Let me be clear. I don't mind people posting stuff. If I want to just move on, I'll try to answer as quickly as I can, but... Anyway, okay, where am I at? What am I doing? So this will get the property name, so it'd be like user get adornments and then the hash for the get method. Okay, so now here we want to get rid of that and put that there. Same with this. Okay. Same here. And then the setter, we can do the same thing. Which came first? The chicken. Okay, it took me a second to see that was a chicken. I'm not a biologist. I know it's like that's a classic one. Days long gone that were said for creationists. Well, how do you know which one came first? But there is an answer to it. I just don't know what it is off the top of my head. Okay, so we want the... Well, we should be consistent. If we're going to say gets, we would want to have... Or sets and inits, we would want to have gets here. So we would put here the name, adornments, and now we need the set method. Which, let's pull that out. Var property set method equals that. And now let's use that everywhere. And I know I could just look for it, you know, but... So now we want that here. Okay. And that's all. That's all, folks. So we need here then. Oh, that's... Okay, so what we're going to have to do is pull these up. Because we need that to be there and that to be there. So now we need that there. Can God create a rock so heavy that even he cannot lift it? I don't. I know it's... Like, if God can do anything, can God do something that contradicts... Yeah, that has a contradiction like that? Okay, so now we want this here, and that should be it. Is a rock a computer? Dear Lord. I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess a rock is made up of things that can be, you know, used for computing purposes. It's materials. But is it a computer in and of itself? I don't know. You work on that, guy. You make that happen. Okay. And then the last one is this one. I think the same thing mostly as we're doing in the property. Like we need this. Come on. And do we pull the get? Yes, we do. But do we still use the get? See, this one we did change. No, we didn't. No, we did not. Come on. Missing things, man. Missing things. Okay, so that gives us the adornments type name. That goes here. And as well, it goes here. It was actually a funny one online Twitter debate. Oh my God. I'm sure it was, you know. I'll believe you. So we do that. Oh, and an indexer, wait a minute, I forgot. An indexer, we have to say this gets adornments. And the reason why is because we can't say indexer, because it's possible that you could create a type, public class customer, as weird as this would be, public string indexer. And that would be perfectly fine. And what's complaining about here is just that you're saying it needs to be required. Okay. But that's perfectly fine. And so we could end up with a we would end up with a collision if we had the property here indexer and we said something like public int this string value, and then we put these things here. Oh, that's right. Data. Yes, get set wait. Oh, that's right. It's not a string, it's a 0. There we go. Okay, that was just crap there. But you could do this. And so if we now name this indexer, it would collide with that. And we don't want that to happen. You could argue and say, well, this would not collide with that because the methods for the getter and setter are different than what you'd have here. But it would be confusing because you'd have two things that indexer, and which ones are they? I don't like naming something with a lowercase to start with. But again, if you don't say that, you could have this being this. And that is allowed. There's nothing in the compiler that stops you from calling something this. And so you don't want to name that. This is, because this is a keyword, calling it this. Again, not the greatest, but we're going to roll with it. Have you seen the game? I've heard of it. I think if it looks kind of like an 8-bit type of game, except it's making fun of the current administration, then I've seen screenshots of it here and there. So yeah. Okay, so we have the adornments here. We do that. We changed it here. I think that does it there. I think that's enough. I think also now with property, we need a type name that is based on that. We're going to pull that up and put it there. Oh my God, what's wrong with me? Come on. Okay. So now we have the type name, except this needs to be this, as we just talked about, this name adornments. This sets or inits, and this would be gets, because it's always a getter. Okay. So now that changes here. That changes here. Those just return it. Which is nice that we said return new here, because then we have to put the type name there, which is good. So I think that handles all of that. Okay, so now the last one we need to do is adornments builder. So the adornments for that, that's fine. But then for each one, we're going to make this class. This is also where we now need to shakes fist at Sky. I need the adornments type name that I'm generating for each adornment. So I need to capture that, which is fine. I can do that, but again, what did Mike Tyson say? Everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the nose. So, fine. We should be calling the pipeline here. Oh, wait a minute. That's... We need the name. We need this. This is technically not the right thing to call that. What we're saying is fully qualified name is what we're calling the base type. So if we came back to here, that's what we have there. So what we really want to call this is base type name. But then what we also want here is string name. Okay, now this is going to break a bunch of things. Which is fine. But by breaking it, we're going to find out where we need to change things. I think they should only be here. Thank you. And then the indexer builder, they should have 2 breaking. Now, of course, when we're generating the adornments, we also have to be careful because that's what's reading it. And so we need to make sure that in the pipeline here, we're in the builder, that we're using base type name here, not the name. It's tough to get out of bed to do road work at 5 a.m. when you've been sleeping in silk pajamas. Marvin Hagler. I don't know why, but YouTube gave me a couple of boxing videos yesterday. I don't know why. One was like this fight between him and, what's his name, Hearns? Thomas Hearns, I think. And it was like considered one of the best first rounds in heavyweight history because they just go at it. They don't stop. And I'm not saying I'm a fan of boxing because I don't really get. I mean, yes, I do self-defense, but really self-defense is not about, like, when we go to things, we don't just start wailing on each other, although it might be hard to see, but I'll have to kind of turn my arm a little bit. You see that bruise, like, right here where I'm pointing? It's kind of hard to see, but that was just because we were practicing self-defense moves and stuff, and somebody just hits you, and of course, sometimes even just not a slight hit, but a decent hit can leave some bruising. So, yeah, it is part of it. You know, we're chess boxing. Yeah, that is. I mentioned that to my wife once. She's like, "That's a thing," and I went, "Yeah, it's the Ocho. If it's a sport, we'll broadcast it. Chess boxing is a thing." So I think they do a round, and then, like, I don't know how they get the chess in between. Like, is that timed? They don't do a game in between, but they do something where it's like they have to play in between each round and play a chess game, and either you win boxing or you win the chess match or something like that. I don't know what the rules are. But I personally, a lot of sports that, you could say like football and hockey. I used to love watching football. I don't really enjoy it anymore. People are like, oh, I wish it was back to the old days where people were getting concussions on every hit. I'm like, no, I actually don't. I'm kind of glad we got smarter about that. But, I still find it amazing that hockey players, begrudgingly wear helmets. and like I don't know if they're required to wear the shield across their eyes. Like I believe up until you get to the pros, you have to wear a helmet and a full face guard. And I'm just sitting there going, that makes sense. Like, why would you not? With a puck flying right at your face, I'd like to keep my teeth, you know. Yeah, I'm trying to conserve as many brain cells as possible. Yeah, I totally agree. And I mean, I loved playing football when I was in high school. For a couple of years I played it. It was fun, you know. And I love the sport is fun, but there's just, you know, so much chance for injury. You know, I like watching, I mean, yes, cycling, any professional sport, there's always there's a chance of injuring yourself walking down the stairs. You know, that's always a possibility. And so with something like cycling, there's a chance. Tennis, there's a chance. You know, every sport has a risk, but typically you don't have to worry about getting concussions in tennis. So used to be a big fan of MMA, but now I feel guilty watching men and women getting cussed for my enjoyment. I can't believe Power Slap. Yeah, Power Slap Tuesday. Now there's a thing where they have two people that are on either side and they basically run at each other and try, like one guy's got a ball, the other person is trying to stop them. And they basically, no pads, nothing, just go right at each other. And I'm like, I don't get this. I don't get it at all. It does not make sense to me, you know. You know, if you're going to play a sport, I guess the thing I would, like you said, I would want to do something that tries to preserve my head because I still want to think. So, yeah. So anyway, where was I? What was I doing? I think here now we want to say that we want is the adornments type. Is it just name? Yeah. We don't need this because the arguments come along with it. And the same thing here. If anything, this cleans up a little bit of, oh, shoot. Oh, darn. That'll work here. The problem, though, I just realized is the name, when we're putting it in, has the type arguments in it. Shakes fist at sky. Okay. What are you building? Feature in a library that I've written called Rocks. It's a mocking library in .NET. So I guess now what we need to do is basically say the adornments type name is sans the type arguments. And then we just have to put the type arguments everywhere. Be right back. Okay, where else are we using this? Here's okay. That's fine. Here, though, we need to put the type arguments next to it. And then there. And I believe that's enough for the method. Okay. Now the property. Any relation to the alien rock? Rocky rocks. No. Rocks, and I even say it on the site, it's a combination of Roslyn plus Mox. And so I just took the R stuck it on Mach, or combined it with Mox. Basically took the M off, put the R there, and called it Rocks. Really great at naming things. It's a name. It's a name as good as any other name. Is available on NuGet. So there you go. I had to come up with a name, and that was like the best I could come up with at the time. So, oh, that's right. There are no type arguments here. That's right, because so we don't have to worry about that. Indexers as well, so we don't have to worry about that either, because they don't have type arguments. Good, that got that figured out. Okay, so here, now I already forgot what this looked like. Compare with unmodified. So when we would call the name here, we would have type arguments. So now we have to put those back. Okay, and then we say the fully qualified. That's the base type. That's fine. I think here we also need the type arguments. Yes, because we had the type arguments there before. That is the constructor. So that's just going to be that. Okay. This is delicate surgery, folks. Ah. Okay, so that's the constructor. This, I think, also needs the type arguments. Yes. That's the return value. Okay, I think... No. We need to say... Oh, wait. Actually, I'm going to get out of this view. Let's come back here. Because we need to be down here, and I need to say... This is now adornments name, and then the type arguments. And let's be consistent. Let's call this adornments. Okay. Why am I calling it remove when I said... Oh, it's on the base. Okay, never mind. Did the movie show Rocky's partner at the end? If not, did the book mention that Grace met him, her? I'm trying to remember. I don't think in the movie they explicitly show Rocky's partner. I don't think. I think in the book they do mention, there is mention of Rocky having a partner, I think. But I honestly don't remember off the top of my head. Again, it's been a while since I read the book, so. Rocky hate mark. Did you know, by the way, that scene was a little improvised? Ryan actually had a buddy named Mark come to the set one day, and they were filming that scene. And this is something that I saw that Ryan actually said, unless it was faked by AI, but who knows. But apparently, Ryan had a friend, Mark, come to set, and they were filming that scene, and apparently Ryan started to ad-lib because Rocky asks him, well, what happened to her? And or something like that. And Ryan starts to ad lib that, well, she decided to go move it, like have a relationship with Mark. So he uses his friend's name Mark. And the guy who does Rocky's voice was actually one of the puppeteers, is off camera, and he's ad-libbing the line. So he said, Rocky hate Mark. So that was totally ad-libbed, and they kept it in the movie, which I thought was awesome. So or what does he say too? Like, I met an alien. He's growing on me rather than inside me, which is a good thing, or something like that. But I also liked it because, in a way, that they showed, meeting an alien was totally alien, but that there wasn't like this hostility either. Or that there was an ability to communicate. I mean, I love Arrival. I love like a lot of First Contact movies. Independence Day, which is cheesy as hell, but it's the first movie my wife and I saw together on our first date, so that's why I bring it up. Alien obviously is an arguably a First Contact movie. Of course, you realize humans know about those beforehand. But or Contact, which is a way to meet potentially multiple aliens, but. Is Hail Mary making a list of top sci-fi movies? I don't know. I don't know if I have top sci-fi. I mean, I liked it, but I wasn't blown away. I liked it. It was a really good popcorn summer movie, and it doesn't put it down. Like, I liked the acting. I liked the story. I think it was all good. But does it have a movie that has resonance with me that really sticks in my head? That's a movie that I would consider to be a top movie. I don't know, but again, saying it's not a top movie of all time for me doesn't mean it's bad. It's really good at what it does. I think it's a really good movie. But I just saw some clips again of some scenes from Shawshank Redemption, and that to me is, I thought about that movie again, and I'm like, talk about a movie that just absolutely nails it. Everything in the story, everything in the script, all the characters. They all have a purpose. They all have a place. Like, they really all fit and gel. Even like some of that circle of friends that hang around Red. There's a couple. There's like one guy. He's really tall. He doesn't say much in the movie at all, but he has a couple things that I think help in certain places. Just like he says something that keeps the story going, and I like that. I thought that was really well done with that character. There's so much in that movie that's why I love watching it again, because it is by far one of the best stories and scripts and adaptations and just film in general. They just hit it, Glad I watched it, but I don't see myself. I probably would watch it again. I'm sure I'd watch it again. It's fun, but I just would have to be. I'm sure I'm going to watch it again, like at home, and just have fun watching it. So I watched Clue the movie. Oh my God, I never watched that. I don't think I ever watched that. So, okay. I think I'm at the point right now where I can try to rebuild my life. I don't think this should break anything. So we're going to find out real quick. It probably will. We'll get build fail, but hopefully we can see where we forgot something or whatever. Guy's distracting me and cause failures. Yep. Blaming you, guy. You're the one that's although it's only apparently 40. Let's check the output here. Yeah, it is apparently only 40, so that's not too bad. Oh, now we're going up. 97. It's basically What's all the comparison tests? Yeah, that doesn't exist anymore. That's adornments. See, there's our new name. These are explicit implementations. So, okay, that might be... Maybe this is something that is just a case for explicit stuff. So let's actually focus on that first, because I got the feeling. So explicit interfaces. Okay. So that is explicit imp. Oh, yeah. That would be this one. And then you're saying on line 896. Dorm B. What? That's weird names. Did I actually call them A and B? Well, I did. Okay, well, that explains it. You're a web developer, render. Okay, well, this isn't web. Sorry. Oh. I get it. Naming is hard. I get what the problem is. It's because if you look at this, and that's the thing we're trying to mock, it's trying to implement, well, it doesn't implement, but it derives from these two things, and they both have A, B, C. And so I'm not sticking the name of the interface in front of it if it's an explicit implementation. Do you have every reference or job? No, I don't. So yeah, I didn't think of that, but that shouldn't be too bad. Let me see. If I go back to like my method here and I go back up to how I'm naming it, do we know at this point? Yes, we do. So if it requires explicit interface implementation, we could stick the name of the thing we're explicitly implementing. But we just want it by name. We don't want the whole fully qualified thing there. This just gets to be worse and worse. Unless we decide I don't know how that would work. Because if I go back to the generated code, we make this class adornments, and then we do this. What I'm starting to wonder is if you have an explicit implementation, you would put the name of the explicit implementation here as another holder class for those things, or do you put the name of it? What I could do, here's a thought. Here's the thought, is when I make that hash, if I come back to method model, and I call parameter hash, maybe what I could do here, this dot require, yeah, we know that here, is just stick it on with the hash. Because all we're doing here is we're getting a string. And then we're using this method that we just put in to create a value that's going to be the same every time we run it. And that just adds more like noise to the name, but that would make it different between this A thing here and this A thing here, because they would be from different types. Okay, I'm going to come right back. I'm not going to stop streaming, but I'm going to come right back. So hang around if you don't mind. If you got to go, that's fine. But if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. I'd really appreciate it. Give a like if you'd like. I got to hit the bathroom real quick, but I want to get to the point where I've got this in and I'm doing like some more testing and I feel confident that this is finally all done. So give me a couple minutes. I'm just taking a break. I will be right back. Okay, I'm back, and yes, I wash my hands. I'm not a savage. So, but yeah, I think that will work well. Is to just put that on the hash here, though it's no longer get parameter hash. Signature hash? Isn't that kind of redundant? I want to just say hash. Maybe we just call it fine hash. And then I'm going to put a comment here that this is primarily there done to get a unique name for the related adornments type. Okay, so now we do that, except here what we're going to do is we're going to concat all these together, except here we're also going to concat this this requires, if it does, this containing type fully qualified name, else that. What don't you like about that? Oh, that's right. Okay, it's not a bool. Okay, that... So what's the problem here? This is a select. It doesn't? I thought I just said it did. Concatenates two sequences. Append. Attach. I thought there was a way if you had a sequence, an enumerable that... I mean, I guess what we could... Nah, I don't want to do that. I mean, I know how I could do it. There's a couple ways I could do it. I could say concat here and then just put on that. It looks ugly as hell, but it does work. Let's do this. Like, have a chance of reading this in the future. I mean, it's not great, but not great, not terrible. I'm going to add this here. We add the containing type name if it needs explicit implementation to prevent collisions between members on multiple interfaces. All right, see you later, guy. I'm doing Oblivion later today, so maybe I'll see you later. See for an example. Okay. So this, just by adding that in here, we don't do it, we just do a string empty if we don't have that. If we do, we'll put the qualified name on. We'll get a string that has that appended to it. We'll get Previously oblivious. I see what you did there. Good dad joke. To concatenate these things together, and if we didn't have, the need to do that because there's not the explicit interface implementation, we'll just use a string. And it'll be the same as before, except now we'll add on the qualified name, which will change, hopefully, the hash values between the two. Okay. Let us rebuild. Let's get up to rebuild integration tests. What does that do now? There might still be some bugs. Oh, that did succeed. Oh, nice. So if we go down here, we should see now in the adornments, we see one that has this, a adornments, which is like 84E. And now this one is 86774. Okay. Nice. Okay, we can do that. Let's run the tests here. Let's see if anything broke. Nope, they all pass. Nice. Remove. Okay, now here's the big one. If we added a void foo here, that should have no impact on us running our tests. And it doesn't. Perfect. Homelander. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. All right. Now, there might still be some errors and other things, but that's okay. Let's commit this real quick. Generating a hash to make adornments names consistent and stable across builds and changes. There. All right, we got that in. Let's go to my notes. So we did all this. Let's look for this string quick and just see if it's in the current project anywhere. Nope, that's good. Okay, so we can say that's done. This whole thing is done, which is nice. Okay, so now what I want to do, let's actually build all of the code, because there might be some stragglers in other projects that I don't realize. Oh, nope, that's all good. Okay, so now what I want to do is I truly want to update all the NuGet package references. And there are a lot, because in that code generation test project, I reference a bunch of them to find out tests. And that I very well may run into issues with what I do here. So let's try to update all these. Just waiting and waiting and waiting. It's a lot of them. Okay. All right. Now, let's run the integration tests again. Just running them. They're quick. Okay, we can get rid of this window. We don't need it anymore. And this one, we can get rid of that one too. Okay, now what I want to do is run the code generation test. This will take about 8 minutes, but it's necessary because... Oh, 6 laborers. Did you change your licensing? It's a split license. Well, that would fit for me. So we're going to remove 6. That's fine. And then we can remove it from packages. All right, that should do it. Let's rebuild. I'm starting to notice a trend in open source stuff, and I do get it. I'm not like unsympathetic to it, which is people putting a crap ton of time. And I know I could have just I fell under the first part of it. I could have gotten an LIC file and oh, that's interesting. Now the build failed. Why did the build fail? Oh, because we could just have here system dot not finite number exception. I don't know. Yeah, no, I forgot I gotta remove it from here. Okay, I'll let this run for 8 minutes, and I can babble about open source for a little bit. I might find areas that are wrong or invalid, so it's definitely possible, especially with a big change like what I just made. That can definitely occur. So let's run this. You know, there's definitely been some libraries that have changed. You know, local stack now went commercial. Automapper, mediator, fluent assertions. You know, there's lots of these libraries that are basically starting to, you know, I think in a valid sense saying a lot of people have used these, and maybe some people have different opinions about this. I can, you know, maybe see where maybe people feel like the rug has been pulled out on people. I get it. But the simple fact remains is open source is not free. There should have never been an expectation that open source should have ever been free. In my opinion, maybe people disagree, but I don't think it should have been. There's people that put in a lot of hard work into what they're doing. And to have like billion-dollar corporations, people that work for these corporations come around and say, hey, you've got a bug in your code. You need to fix this ASAP because our production is down. And if you don't do it, we're going to sue, or like we're going to come after you or something, which happens more often than people I think realize, where that organization hasn't done jack squat to support the developers on that open source project. And, you know, the licensing is clear. That's like with MIT. It's very clear, as is. There is no expectation of support or anything like that. You can take it and you can use it however you want. And that also means you got to take it. You know, you got to take it as it is. And you cannot expect people just to change, you know, to upend their whole lives to fix something for you. That's just not sustainable. I don't understand how people ever thought that that was going to be. You know, I still remember almost 10 years ago, somebody telling me, oh, I love open source because everything's free. And I'm like, no, it's not. Nothing is free in life. If you think it's free, then you're the product. They're using you in a way, or it's just you cannot expect any level of support from that. So, and for me, for all the stuff I do, it's fine that I don't get anybody to pay for anything I'm doing, in the sense because I'm getting personal edification out of all this. But if something I created suddenly, quote unquote, took off and I would suddenly start to get people being that demanding, then yes, I would change the license. I'm not unsympathetic to people just saying, hey, I'm kind of, well, this is easy to maintain. Well, if it was so easy to maintain, then why didn't you do it yourself? Oh, this was easy. Why did somebody have to do this? Well, then if it was easy, do it yourself. And maybe that's where people are going to start to say with like LLMs, well, I'm just going to generate my own mocking library. I'm just going to generate my own object mapper if you think that's important. I'm going to generate my own mediator. I'm going to generate my own stuff and keep it all in-house. Okay, fine, do that. But I don't blame people for trying to, get some kind of support out of what they're doing in their code and the projects that they're doing. I think it's a long time coming, actually, So, and if people just won't do that, then they can fork it and they can maintain their own builds and distribute their own stuff internally. And, that's perfectly fine. Go ahead and do that if that's the effort you want to put into it. But that's on you then. So anyway, we're getting to the P's now. So we'll see what this ends up with. Just because I'm a pessimist with this is a big change. And even though it's a change that most people won't even notice, it is a big change. And so I would not be surprised if there's something that I missed. I kind of liked using 6 labors because it had some very weird corner cases. But I did it. It might have, just because it's doing a lot of advanced stuff. But I just don't want to deal with that either. My personal thing. I could have just said, hey, give me a license and I could add it in and it would have been fine, but oh well. Life is the way it is. We'll see. Okay, so we're getting near the end and we're going to see a sea of red flash by or not. Twilio is also a big one. It's a lot of types. But we should expect to see a lot of red fly by. And then we can try to fix those issues. Yep. I told you. Collection of adornments does not contain a definition for remove handler. Really? 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 There's remove and remove handler. There's a remove and a remove handler. So I don't know what what are you talking about? Some of these are just because of Aspire, and those kick in here, there, and everywhere. So let's actually go back here, because in this project I keep track of things I need to ignore, like Aspire crap. This is Aspire.net tool. Oh, that's a new one. I may need to change this to and then command 1. Okay, so that'll get rid of those. Oh, there's Aspire ATS. That's a new one. I should really consider changing this to handle splats. Like to say, is it... Like for some of these, I want them to be very specific to match to exactly that. But like for Spire, I'm basically saying if it starts with Spire, Aspire, maybe I should put that in my to-do. In consider changing the implementation such that it can allow splats, i.e. Aspire. This will ignore all Aspire warnings. Because syslib, well, some of these I probably want to do, but like this one is just every time I do this, Aspire always kicks in a new one, and I'm just like, I just don't care. So, all right, but we still have a problem here. Well, what's the SER? Let's copy all this and let's take a look at what we really got. Some of these might just be purely not related. I mean, some of them are. But some of them I don't think are related to, maybe, I don't know. We're going to have to just, don't assume anything. Let's... Field or auto-implemented property cannot be of type T unless it is an instance member of a ref struct. Okay, I have no idea if that's related or not. What's the SER one? Is for evaluate? Yeah. We want to remove that too. Right. So let's run this again and let's just get like a better list of errors and just to see maybe those are bugs that have nothing to do with what I just changed. Maybe they do. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I need another stream to figure all this out. So... So I got the feeling that this is going to be another stream's worth of stuff. And I do need to. I've been going for 2 hours. I do need to stop. I got to do some other things. So I'm gonna get the list here, and then I'm gonna stop streaming, and then I'm going to look through the list on my own time and figure out what they might be. And then in the next stream, we'll see. Maybe I'll come back and say, yes, I'm done with all this because it really wasn't a big deal, or there are some bugs that came through that I got to fix. We'll see. It just takes a while to get through all this stuff, as you saw before. Maybe I'll find out that one of these bugs is related to the work I just did and completely breaks everything. I don't know. Then I can point. This changes everything. Yeah, I saw a video. There's a channel I've been starting to follow, and it's basically a guy who, I think he lives in the UK, and his job is maintaining lighthouses. Maybe it's other things for the government, but he goes to all these different lighthouses, and they'll stay there for like, a couple days, a week, 2 weeks, whatever, and they'll do maintenance and updates and upkeep on the lighthouses that they have. And it's really, I don't know why I find it so interesting, because it's not overblown. The videos are done well, but it's also this guy that just goes through these lighthouses and shows you what they're like and what their living conditions are like when they do that. And the latest one he just posted it's like a island. I find it funny in the UK too that they use miles. I'm like, aren't they supposed to be not using freedom units? I thought it was all metric, but whatever. So it's an island called Lundy, I think, and they got a couple lighthouses there, and they also have a pub on the island, which I'm like they didn't really show the island. And actually, while this is going, I'm kind of curious. Let me just bring myself up, and I want to see if I look up Wikipedia, Lundy, English Island in the Bristol Channel. Okay, so. Do this. So that's Lundy. Is this, I guess, this island? Is that what they're saying it is? But yeah, it's about 3 miles long and 1 mile wide. And shipwrecks, remains of old lighthouse installations are there. Yeah, so they don't talk about. Yeah, you see this like over here in his video. Oh, that's interesting. There's a castle there too. Oh, they got a church there. Historical things are kind of cool. Do they talk about population, transport? Because there is a pub on the island. Some of the lighthouses. Yep. All the lighthouse is no longer in service. He shows you that in the video. Did they talk about population? 28 people. Visitors include day trippers and holiday makers staying overnight in rental properties or camping. Most live in and around the village. Oh, so there's Lundy's largest island. Lies coast of... So there is a village there. Huh, interesting. See all the things you learn? Okay, so we still have errors, which is fine. I kind of expected that. Just grab all this. And let's put that here. Okay, so I'm going to look through this list later and just determine like what might or might not be the problem with some of these things. You know, the fact that it does say for like this 1601, that seems like remove handler. Why can't it find remove handler? It should be able to. So some of these, like this one, might just be completely unrelated. But again, I'll figure that out on my own. But that's going to be it for this stream. So I want to thank everybody who stopped by either live or in the future. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and give a like if you'd like to. I will be doing an Oblivion stream this afternoon or evening. Don't know when, but one of those to continue playing that game. And I'll probably do a coding stream either tomorrow morning and or Tuesday morning, because again, I want to keep going with this. I want this thing to be done. But for now, I'm done with the stream. Thank you all for watching. Take care, and I hope to see you in the future.